Happy Monday, if there is such a thing. Welcome to the Midnight Express, Sci-Fi Center Live. My name is William. I'm your host for the next maybe 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how many questions we have and what kind of topics. We covered almost everything last night during our overnighter. But as with any show, there's always questions left unasked and things like that. And plus, I had a couple, 3 minutes tonight before I head off into bed. So figure, you know what, keep the conversation going. Let's go ahead and say and hi to the chat, whoever's here. How you doing, Sneeze? Aaron, good morning. Revolution was really good. Listen, people may have whatever issues you may have with AEW, any other things like that. The one thing that AEW never fails to do is put on a pay-per-view with top-notch matches. There wasn't really a bad match on the card, in my opinion. It was the main event. I thought was great. I kind of knew who was going to win. I didn't think they were going to cut MJF's rise this short, but the match still was good. I like the swerves that they put into it. The trios match was what I thought it was going to be. I thought that the Elite carried a little bit more. I thought the House of Black was good, but I didn't think there's been better matches with the Elite that I thought were better than this one, like with Death Triangle or Aussie Open and Will Ospreay. But this match was good enough. They held those titles long enough to elevate those titles. So now let's see what House of Black can do. Wardlow choking out Samoa Joe. I'm all right with that. I mean, I don't expect to see Samoa Joe on AEW TV as much as I expect him to see him on Ring of Honor. I think he's more needed over there. What were some of the other matches? It was good to see FTR again. As soon as I heard that music, I was so happy, because FTR's contracts are running up here next month, and I've been hearing, I was hearing from a lot of, sources that they're, going back to WWE. I don't see them as a fit there. I didn't see them as a fit there the first time. I think they're a better fit with any other company because once you sign with WWE, you cannot sign. You can't. They generally don't let you do extended tours with like New Japan and other promotions. They let you wrap up stuff like they did with Carl Anderson. But guys like FTR, need to be able to go back and forth. But same thing with Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega is a current United States champion for New Japan. By the way, I have that belt. That's that belt right there. He's a current United States for New Japan, but he also wrestles in AEW. That would not be the case with WWE. So I think at this time in their career, they need to keep their options open to cash as many checks in many different places as possible. But overall, I was really happy with. I was even happy with the opening match with Briscoe and Penta. The Death Triangle, 2/3 of the Death Triangle. So I was happy with the pay-per-view. Like I said, they just never fail as far as I'm concerned. But people are different. WrestleMania, like I said, so far the one match I'm looking for is the one match I should be looking for, and that's going to be Cody versus Roman Reigns. Everything else is just it's going to be standard fare. Oh, I thought you were asking me. No, I just got in. I wasn't on anybody's stream. Hello, Darth Sipu. All right, Hayden McComb. Good morning. Nice to meet you. Yes, I have. It is the best of the three. It solidifies the fact that you can do this franchise without Sylvester Stallone if you need to, and without the Rocky character. How you doing, Terrain Pama? All right, so I did not watch Last of Us yet. I will. I probably will watch Last of Us after this. I am. I was watching it as soon as I got in on Sunday nights, but I just been later and later on Sunday nights, so it's like 12:21 now. So I am going to watch The Last of Us. Everything else I'm caught up on. I'm caught up on The Mandalorian. I'm caught up on Picard. I watch those shows as they air. I'm trying to think of anything that we did not talk about last night. Ant-Man broke the $400 million mark, so I don't know if that's going to make it profitable or not. Given it was a $200 million production budget, and I don't know how much they spent on ad campaigns. I generally don't know if we're not a part of them, because you can once these film companies send you ad campaign stuff, you can kind of get a guess on how committed they were to a project. But we weren't a part of the Ant-Man Quantumania campaign. They didn't do a lot for it, as far as I know. So our next one is John Wick. We'll be launching that one tomorrow. But yeah, man, it's been a pretty mellow summer. My Lakers won. Yay. Kenneth Corrali Jr. Hello, William. Hope you're doing well. Just rewatched Superman the movie, 1978 theatrical cut on Blu-ray. Very excited for the steelbooks and all 4 Christopher Reeve Superman films coming out next month. Too bad only 2 of them were good. I'm sorry. I know other people love, and find positive stuff about 3 and 4. I thought they were awful, but the fact that 1 and 2 were what they were, I would still buy the steelbook because it's part of the collection. But I thought Superman 4 was just an awful movie. But Superman 2, one of the greatest sequels of all time. I mean, I will never. Maybe it's because when I saw Superman 2, it was at Mann's Chinese Theater in Hollywood during the premiere. And I don't know how the old man got us into this, but he got us. He was 2 movies he was able to get us into premieres into: Empire Strikes Back and Superman 2. Superman 2, I still will go down. Take it to my grave as one of the great sequel superhero movies of all time. Terrence Stamp as Zod, even though I love Michael Shannon's version of Zod, and I prefer his. His is a better performance. Terrence Stamp's is more iconic. So congratulations on getting those steelbooks. If you keep building this stuff up, I may have to come rob you. No, I'm just kidding. On 4K USGC. And this is what I mean, guys. People buy physical media still. They buy the ultra editions. They buy the special editions. They buy the steelbooks. Physical media is not 100% dead. Yeah, going to Blockbuster and Hollywood Video, and having a quarter of the electronics section in Walmart, taken up by it. Maybe those days are temporarily gone, but you're still people are still selling. Top Gun Maverick was selling a lot. We promote that. Like I said before, so if you ever wanted to continue a story in physical media and make your money back, physical media is still out there for you. It's sad the set does not have Superman Returns in the box, considering the controversy on that film with Singer and Spacey. Totally understand. Yeah, it's really hard to. Well, Spacey more than anything. It's really, really hard to. Whenever they write you out of a movie, an Academy Award level movie, they just completely write you out and get rid of the scenes that you filmed. You're in a bad place. So yes, that's a hard one for Spacey. Superman 2 and Empire Strikes Back for me are some of the best movie sequels of all time. Yeah. Empire Strikes Back is actually my favorite Star Wars movie. And then, Rogue One is right behind it. So I thought Empire Strikes Back's an epic. But like I said, both of those movies I saw at Mann's Chinese Theater. I, as a 6-year-old kid, I think, when those both came out the same year, it was a world to me. It was huge. Now I've been spoiled. I've been spoiled by movie theaters. I've been spoiled by IMAX. I've been spoiled by 3D and streaming and everything else. But back when I was a kid, the movie theater was a palace. Going to a movie was a major, massive event. It wasn't, you went once a week and you went as a family. You a lot of times I got outvoted, but a lot of times me and the old man, we were into the same thing. Oh, by the way, happy 71st birthday to the old man, William Powell Sr. He doesn't watch the show, but happy birthday anyway. So yeah, it was those memories. Those movies weren't just movies; they're memories as well. JR Server, here's something I thought about with the Flash. They could get really creative with the different box set configurations, and one of Snyder's movies and one of Burton's with Gunn DC. It's kind of like I was going with before. You could really, what you want to do, and I think a lot of knuckleheads that are online that say, well, you can't do that, you can't do this, and you need to get over to that. A lot of those guys are just talking because they like the sound of their voice. Most of them Most of them have never sold anything. Most of them have never been in charge of selling anything. Most of them will never market anything in their lifetime other than, their presence on YouTube. But when you have these IPs and you have 40, 50, 60 years of motion pictures and cartoons and everything else, you need to make sure that no matter who comes into your domain, where they come into your domain, whether it's James Gunn's movies or Zack Snyder's movies or Christopher Reeve's, Richard Donner movies, it does not matter what door they come into. Everybody comes to the dinner table. All right. So to say that, we should just, not continue something or not complete something, that comes from dummies who have never sold anything, that will never sell anything, will never be in charge of selling anything, and will never have to market what is being sold. Because if you have a product out there, an IP that is out there, you need to promote it no matter what it is and where it is and when it was. Superman Legacy comes out. What am I going to do? I'm going to wait another 2-3 years for the sequel to come out or the next movie to come out? No. While you enjoyed that movie, if you enjoyed that movie, I want you in everything that Red S is on. And when I get to that modern day stuff, I don't want broken stuff. I want a complete story. Everywhere I send you in my domain, I need to have a complete story. If I send you to the Snyder movies, it needs to be complete because it's unprofessional, sloppy, and stupid to have anything in your domain that you want to market and make money off and not be complete. Everything else has been complete. Nolan stuff was complete. The Batman movies of the 90s, 80s, and 90s were completed. All right. All these other things and all these other franchises were completed. You got your fill of them. All right. You need to finish everything in your domain. So when that guy comes through that front door, he sees a complete project and he's latched onto it. And you're showing these things on TV. All these Snyder movies are still rolling on TV. Even Justice League, which is awful. But it is still a doorway into your product. And the only people who don't think that the product needs to be complete are knuckleheads who, like I said, will never sell anything, will never be in charge of selling anything, will never market anything. Because if you had to market an orange or anything, you would know that if you do not just market one movie, you market an entire story, you market an entire universe, you market an entire brand. And when they come in through Superman Legacy and the next nearest thing to them is this broken up Superman story, things are going to halt right there. And you don't want that. You want them visiting every room in your mansion. So yeah, these are good ideas. But like I said, I explained why it needed to be done. I explained how it can be done with the physical media. The ball's in their court now. William, Superman 1, Christopher Reeves is great, but stupid ending ruined the film. Well, it's also dated too. I mean, that nothing in that movie, nothing in Superman 1, and in a lot of times Superman 2 works in the modern era. It dated. I mean, Superman, the early Superman movies were dated before the 80s were even over. The 80s was such a diverse decade that Superman was outdated by like 86 or 87. That's why those last two movies just don't work. Yeah, Terminator 2 is an excellent example. And that's Terminator 2 is an example of when they did these little things called soundtracks, where, you would have movie videos and stuff like that. Remember you watch MTV when MTV showed videos and you'd say from the motion picture soundtrack, because I'll never forget. The song "You Could Be Mine" by Guns N' Roses is synonymous with Terminator 2. And Terminator 2 is one of the great sequels of all time as well. And Road Warrior is legendary. Road Warrior was so good that most people in America did not realize that was a sequel. Mad Max actually did better after the Road Warrior was released. How you doing, Spider-Man? 7285. I went to 7285 means, but yeah, guys, when you're I think with this new Flash movie, it is going to open up a lot of eyes to a lot of IPs that have been ignored the last 5 years. And I think a lot of people are going to take a look at these things. They're going to take a look at Zack Snyder's Justice League. They're going to take a look at Man of Steel. They're going to take a look at BVS. And keep in mind, with fanboys on YouTube the last 5 years, think of those movies. Nobody fucking cares. We're talking about brand new people who weren't in that zeitgeist. We're talking about people who weren't hanging around screaming at each other on YouTube. We're talking about people who weren't waiting for their Marvel check to come in the mail that they never got, that were going to shit on everything that DC did. We're not talking about those people. We're talking about brand new guys that's like, wow, that looks interesting. I think I'll give that a try. He's not caught up in all that stuff that you know, the fanboy stuff that was going on for 9 years. So, and a lot of that stuff has died down because if you look at it, a lot of people have a fairer view about those movies than they did at the time. So I want those movies to, if I'm the guy in charge of you know, making content that is, you know, revenue generating, I got all these movies. I got HBO Max. I got 3 different channels. I got deals with other channels. I want to make as much money off of the content that came out from 2013 till now. You know, and the way it is now, it's just all sloppy. So yeah. William versus Story, yeah. I'm gonna start getting T-shirts like that. Just a black T-shirt with a white William Burst. Restore the William Burst. All right, just wrapping up the day, wrapping up the weekend. Got a lot of promotion to go on. We got a lot of, like I've been explaining before, we got a lot of live events that are happening. We have our weekly Rocky Horror Picture Show demo that's going on the 11th. On the 17th and 18th, we have Project Ripper. You know, we won't be rained out this time. After Project Ripper, we have our wrestling event that we're going to have inside of our plaza. And we're going to have a wrestling rink with my name on it, or the Sci-Fi Center's logo on it, which is like, it's not WrestleMania, it's not AEW Revolution, but I don't care where it is. I'm going to have a wrestling ring with the Sci-Fi Center's logo in the middle of it. You know, that is going to be beyond cool. I'm going to be taking a crap ton of pictures of that one. And then after that, we have Tromania. Lloyd Kaufman, the founder of Troma, will be here in Vegas. We're bringing him out to Vegas, and he's bringing 2 premieres. So we got a lot going on. So this is like the calm portion of my week, because once tomorrow hits, it's balls to the walls, man. I was just doing a binge on Alice in Chains albums. You know, when it comes to Alice in Chains, and then listen, Lane Staley is Lane Staley. He established that sound. So don't take this the wrong way. The last couple of albums with the new lead singers are not bad. I'm not going to say he's copying Staley's voice, but what I will say is his voice, he's doing with his voice what is needed for the rest of the group, because the rest of the group, it was engineered around that sound that he was able to make. And that guy sounds eerily like him. Not exactly like him, but enough to where I can enjoy Alice in Chains modern stuff. And Staley's been dead since, what, 2002, 2004? He's another one of those guys that didn't make it out of the 90s. Heroin did. Dude, the 90s music scene, grunge and post-grunge, Heroin destroyed that scene. Sublime, Blind Melon, just either Heroin or Suicide. I mean, it was hell, Eddie Vedder's like the only guy who made it out alive, it seems. All right, The Flash, judging from the trailer, could almost be looked at as a Flashpoint Man of Steel. So I think there could be a pretty significant MOS resurgence after this. But I think there's definitely going to be in, especially, and I don't know her story. I don't know where her relation, how they're going to relate her to Cavill Superman. So, you know, that still is yet to be revealed. And Ben Affleck's Batman is directly tied to MOS. So I am, like I said, my strategy is this. I'm just going to support the hell out of the Flash and Aquaman. I'm going to do my best to you know, get people to see Shazam, you know, because it's got not a dismal outlook, but not a really high outlook. I'm going to see if I can, you know, with our promotion, we can change that, do what I can. And I want to make this decision harder for them. All right. I want to complicate this decision that they have to make. I want to complicate their road going forward in a good way, not a bad way. I want to give them some food for thought. All right. I know you got these plans and you're going to do all, the authority and some of the stuff I really am intrigued by, like the Wonder Woman, the Paradise Laws. I'm intrigued by Swamp Thing. I'm intrigued by some of the Batman thing. But a lot of the stuff he has, I'm really on board with. But at the same time, the decisions on how and what to do with what came before, I want to complicate that decision. I don't want them to have such a cut and dry decision to make. I want them to have to think. And if these movies pull in profit and huge profit, then I want to see how that affects the road going forward. I want to see how that affects the establishment of the Elseworlds. Instead of hashtagging and threatening and drawing stupid pictures and doing dumb memes right now, and like I said, unlike Black Adam, which was never going to be the case, all right, us fanboys were never going to push Black Adam to where it needed to go because the general audience didn't know who the hell they were. These movies are different. The general audience knows who Ben Affleck's Batman is. The general audience knows who Michael Keaton's Batman is. They know who Batman is in general. And it's not the red S of Kal-El, but that red S is very recognizable. And the Flash is somewhat recognizable. So this is an event level movie. So I want them to be thinking about the potential of event level movies like this as they're trying to make a decision to go in a different direction. All right, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. The best we could hope to do is to give them some food for thought and make it a little bit harder for them just to kind of like dismiss things. That's what you do with money. You can do with money that you will never be able to do with hashtags and screaming and threats, all that. Money. Remember what I said? Math is undefeated. All right. And if you get behind math and support these movies coming up, it won't be losing anytime soon here either. So, all right, hell yeah, Sci-Fi Center belt. Yeah, there's gonna be one. There's gonna be one. There's a remaster of Dirt from 22 that I just found out about. Wow. I'm almost afraid to jump on that, Larry, because I kind of like that raw sound from Dirt. They weren't really Alice in Chains yet. I mean, they were, but they weren't. There's a lot of bands in there, like Smashing Pumpkins. You look at some of the stuff that Smashing Pumpkins did later on in the 90s and early 2000s, it's better music, but things from like Pisces Iscariot, I mean, were much more or less refined. And it kind of added to what that grunge sound was, that post grunge sound was. Yeah, the new guy is really good. I listened to him and I'm like, wow, dude. And like I said, his voice does what it needs to elevate and propel that music. And people are buying it. People are digging it. I saw a concert where people are still showing up. And that's rough because you figure, hey, Layne Staley's dead. How can you move on without him? But it only takes you about 5 or 6 minutes to listen to this guy and you're on board. And their music has evolved a little bit to the point where you always wonder where Layne Staley's in Alice in Chains would evolve to if they had stayed together and he had died. I'm kind of getting the sense because Jerry Cantrell was doing, he was doing a lot of the writing too. So I gotta feel that we're kind of where we might have been with them. I mean, I don't want to be blasphemous, but at the same time, I hear potential when I hear the new band. Yeah. Somebody told me I should give up one of my belts, like my IWGP heavyweight championship or my US. And I'm like, no, we won't do that. We're going to make something cheesy, something I don't mind losing. There's a whole bunch. Everybody wants to challenge me for my belts, dude. Like my big gold belt that I'm wearing on my profile pic that I have it sitting over there. No, I give them up my belts. I'll give you a cardboard belt you can beat the hell out of me for it, but not that one. All right, there. Alan Black gives way to Blue is good. First one with the new singer. Yes, that's it. That's a really good album. It took me back. It took me back to hear that. Eddie better switch to wine. That's just thinking he drinks multiple bottles each show. Hey, dude, given what everybody else was given, because if you look at all the great bands of them that brought that era in, you know, they were all affected by heroin or suicide. Nirvana, suicide. Blind Melon, heroin. Sublime, heroin. Um, I mean, and then even later on in life, if you look at some of the bands like Chris Cornell, even though he lasted into his 50s, he was the same depression that killed that caused him to commit suicide was the same depression that caused him to write songs like "Fell on Black Days." If you look at "Fell on Black Days," to me, to me, everybody's going to have a different opinion about what a song means to them. "Fell on that Black Days" is a suicide note from somebody who's depressed, and I always got the sense, listening to Soundgarden in that era, that if it weren't for the music, some of these guys would be dead then. And I hate to say that, but I mean, and the magnitude of his depression, I thought was going away because he was always open about being depressed. I and when I found out that he had committed suicide, I was like, wow, dude. It never really left him. I see you. You're right, William. I saw Alice in Chains about 6 or 7 years ago, and the lead singer's voice is crazy eared. Yeah, and they're worth the money too. And they got new stuff too. It's not just them singing the old classics. I mean, I've heard him sing "Man in the Box" though, and you hear him sing "Man in the Box." Wow, dude, it's like and Wood. He does all the classic. He does all the standard, but then they roll into their stuff, and their new stuff is really good. So yeah, I'm happy for the band that they were able to find a way to move on. I mean, there's very few bands that can do that. AC/DC did it, but there's very few bands. Once that lead singer goes, that lead singer is usually so much of a part of what happens. The band usually doesn't go, but they're one of the ones that have been able to do it. No, no. Um, I saw the trailers. The trailers look awful. Um, I will probably see it on streaming. I'm not going to see that in the movie theaters. One of the things about Children of the Corn and then some of the awful sequels, but it's one of those things that had a time and place. When Children of the Corn, the original movie came out, it was unique. It was new. It was different. Um, that's just a franchise that just didn't need any more, in my opinion. But I'm going to pass on that one. How you doing, Scion Sleek Media? Is it Scion Sleek Media? Scion Sleek Media? I hope I'm getting that right. No, I did not. I did not watch UFC 285. I was actually uh, doing some promotion, but I know John Jones won. What is he, like 400? Gee, Lord, and he looks great too, by the way. The self-titled album was the evolution of actually being grunge. Yeah, yeah, I'd have to agree. I had to think about that for a little bit. But yeah, I'd have to agree. And if you look at the grunge era, the second albums during the grunge era of each of these bands, or third albums, were the best. Pearl Jam 10 is a legendary album. It broke through. It established a grunge, whatever. Versus is light years better than that one. All right. Versus is by far the better album between the two. There are some great songs on 10, which is Pearl Jam's breakthrough album. But just about every song on the following album is great. Rearview Mirror, older woman sitting behind the really long one is actually one of my favorite songs. Sitting behind a counter on the shelf, that one. Leash, there's a song on there called Leash, which I think is one of the greatest Pearl Jam songs of all time. There's Daughter. I mean, the way that opens up. Same thing with Nirvana. Nevermind was the one that broke them through the grunge era. They had other albums like Bleach and Insecticide. I mean, they had other albums, so that was the one they first. But Nevermind and Smells Like Teen Spirit that was their breakthrough album. but In Utero was in a different class. I mean, I don't. Heart shaped box. Heart shaped box is legit better than anything on Nevermind, in my opinion. And then you follow it up with all. I mean, I think All Apologies is on that album too. Even the post grunge people like Smashing Pumpkins. Siamese Dream is a great album. Has some great songs on it. Melancholy and Infinite Sadness might, in my opinion, be the best album of the '90s, the best double release of the '90s. So yeah, it's a different band. The grunge era was great. It broke through, but that post grunge era, as especially with Soundgarden actually got better with each album. Pearl Jam got better with each album, um, and then it just kind of drifted in, and then it lost way to like the rap rock, Linkin Park type stuff, and that's when I just started tuning out. All right, they were drunk off fame, yeah, fame and pressure, I guess. I don't know. Yes, I didn't see it. I know that that one girl, Valentina, she hadn't lost in 2017. She lost. She got submitted. That's the only two. The two main eventers are the only one that I knew. Yeah, yeah, and it didn't really save Cobain because Cobain died young. Cobain died at 27. I remember when April of 1994 when they found out he passed away, dude. That just shut everything down. Um, and that was just a bad time. But here's the thing about Kurt Cobain dying. Some people made the connection with grunge because of what they were going through in life and they could relate to it. After Kurt Cobain died, all right, mainstream people realized what was going on behind these lyrics. The people who were into that music in the mid 90s understood it from the point they listened to it. But mainstream people who, knew of grunge, liked a couple of songs here, didn't truly understand what all these guys were writing about until until he died. And then you start looking at the lyrics now and all that fun we were having in the mid 90s and you realize this was their outlet. These guys had issues. Same thing with gangster rap. Listen, I grew up in LA. I grew up in Inglewood. I grew up in Hawthorne. I grew up in the greater Los Angeles area. All right, hearing gangster rap on the radio, if they didn't censor the hell of it, it was one thing. After the riots, after 1992, they burnt everything down, and in the Rodney King situation, the whole world started understanding and looking at where those lyrics were coming from. And unfortunately, it takes tragedy for the rest of the world to see, wow, this is not just a song, or this is not just a rap. This is this person's window to the rest of the world. 90s era was just hits differently. Do much varied music of all genres and many untimely talented artists. Yeah, it was intense stuff. It was intense stuff. And when you look at what was going through, obviously he had a heroin issue, Kurt Cobain, but he also had depression, and he also had an ulcer that was causing him a lot of pain. When you go, post his suicide, go back and listen to Super Unknown. Go back and listen to Bad Motorfinger. It's just a different understanding of what these guys are going through and where that music was coming from was just gripping. So yeah, but it was still, man, even how it ended, even how the tragic ending to these people's lives went, the music is here forever and it's still great. All right, tonight's Last of Us went into territory real quick, but with a good story. It seems like the last couple of episodes of for people have gone into territory, but I'm gonna watch it after I'm done here. Well, awesome. I know I got built up for Southpaw, but okay, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the movie for Jake Gyllenhaal. Children of the Corn was hilarious, and that Rex head boy, yeah. But it had its time and place, man. Yeah, Dirt was the album for them. I mean, you had Jar of Flies, but I mean, Jar of Flies was good. But when it comes to Alice in Chains, the definitive album, whether he lived or not, some people are just going to have people are going to have definitive albums, no matter how long they perform. Most people just don't, you know, unless you're like a super, 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 super band, like Rolling Stones or somebody like that. But because the two main albums for them for that era were Jar of Flies and all right, so they started out with Facelift in 1990. That was pre-grunge. That was, that's one of those albums that people went back and bought after they broke through. You had Alice in Chains in 1995. So let's look at Black Gives Way to Blue was the one was the first one out of the new Sealinger. So here's Dirt. Just to let you know just how how good this was. So Wood, which is one of my favorite Alex songs. Them Bones, not my favorite. Angry Chair. Angry Chair. When you hear the opening of Angry Chair in that video, you just felt it. That music of that era, it wasn't just sitting back and listening to it and enjoying. It just drew you in. It was weird. It was so you had Rooster, which is about Vietnam. Down in the Hole is one of my favorite all time um Alice in Chains songs. All right, so Them Bones, Damn the River, Rain Will I Die. And remember, back in the era when these songs were when these albums were released, a lot of the B-sides didn't get played on the radio unless you had to listen to late night college radio. Down in the Hole, one of my favorite Roosters, Junkhead, Dirt, Godsmack, Hate the Real, Angry Chill, and Wood. So that one. Now, when you look at Facelift was the album that was playing on the air in 1991 when the grunge era first started. But Dirt was the one that just really um, pushed him through. And so Dirt, we were young. Man in the Box, that's where Man in the Box was from. Most of these songs on here weren't played on the radio. Man in the Box was pretty much the only song that they would play, at least on Southern California radio. So that was what broke them through. And then Alice in Chains in 1995. This was probably my least favorite of the Lane Staley age. Uh, there just wasn't a lot of songs on there that broke through for me. But yeah, Alice in Chains were just, I don't know, man. But like I said, I'm glad they are carrying on. Yeah, versus was, dude. There's so many pace changes on that album. When you hear Rearview Mirror, the same album that has Rearview Mirror has Leash, has I mean, I used to be able to. I mean, I remember, and yes, I'm old, but I bought these things when there was tape, so you listen to the whole album. Instead of just flipping things over, you just listened. It was just a lot easier to listen all the way through the album instead of flipping it over. And so now you can just, it's all digital. But all right, so let's see. And I would just listen to this album. Okay. All right, so Verse, Go, which is awesome. Animal, which is awesome. Daughter, which is one of their best songs. Glorified G, was not played on the radio much, was one of their best. Dissident was really good. WMA, it was all right. Blood was all right. Rearview Mirror is one of the greatest Pearl Jam songs ever released. I have not got a chance to see them in concert, but if I do, I need them to play this song. Rats was great. It's right behind Rearview Mirror. Elderly Woman Behind a Counter in a Small Town is probably one of my favorite songs in general. There's a lyric in that song, and I have it on my Facebook page. And if I ever got a tattoo, the lyrics "I change by not changing at all" is in that, and that lyric has stuck with me for 30 some odd years. Leash is in my top 5 Pearl Jam songs, and Indifference. So that album right there just had hit after hit after hit, and you could just slap it in the tape deck and just play it. Some groups of that era had some really really kick-ass songs and then some shitty songs, and you'd be like, "Up, fast forward." No, not with some of the albums I'm talking about today or right now. You know, and very few of the groups I love they do that. Metallica, like I said, Justice for All, you just start it and then let it go. You know, and same thing with any of their albums, for as far as I'm concerned. I mean, there's very few albums like that just let it go. You know. All right, Angry Chair, then Bone, Sick Man. Yeah, it would. Like I said, Angry Chair's opening was like an anthem, man. It was just great. All right, Pantera owned the 90s. Pantera was great. Regarding Alice in Chains, many people don't realize guitarist Jerry Cantrell sings a lot in that band. The new guy doesn't sound that similar to Lane. It's just actually just Jerry. That may be 100% true, but to my uneducated ear, when I hear it, it sounds like Lane. And you are 100% right, though, about Lane Staley. Lane Staley does a lot of the singing and a lot of the backing vocals that in the earlier albums kind of overpower things is Cantrell. But when you hear them, it's wow, you know. Um, but like I said, there's a lot of their songs where it was Lane Staley up front, but however they've done it integrity, they've reinvented that sound. I think he sounds similar to Lane, but like I said, it's all subjective here. But the overall sound, to be able to resurrect that sound enough to be able to progress after your lead singer has passed away, that's not easy. That's very hard. Who walks among the corn, Malachi? Oh my goodness! I remember that creepy little kid. Ugh. Oh, there you go. I haven't heard you say it in a while, man. I was listening to 22 Master of Dirt, and it's awesome. I have not listened to the remastered one yet. Hilarious. Integrity. Rain when I die. Yep. Yeah. How are you doing? Let's see if we can get to some. Yeah, it was. It's like once they broke through and they had a little bit more freedom and had a little bit more leverage and what they could do. They no longer had to listen to a lot of different people. They had proven that they could break through with their sound, and a lot of the producers just let them go. I know that was definitely the case with Smashing Pumpkins. You listen to Siamese Dream, which is an awesome album. I mean, Cherub Rock. The opening of Cherub Rock is just the drum roll, and then the bass, and then the guitar, and then the backup guitar going 1, 2, 3 like that, and then all of a sudden you're just in a wave of power chords. And then there's you know, Quiet. There's a song called Quiet on there, which I think is great. And you never got the chance to hear that on the radio. You had to buy the album to hear that. And then when you go into Melancholy and Sadness, though, it completely blows that album away. Even though that wasn't their sophomore effort, it was their next album after their main breakthrough, which was Siamese Dreams. And there's a song on Melancholy and Infinite Sadness called Bodies. I could listen to that forever. In fact, when I first heard the song, it was on college radio, and I just kept listening to it and listening to it and listening to it. So, all right, JR, we'll go a little longer. All right, going back to the box set idea, I'm kind of surprised Sony and Marvel haven't done that with No Way Home. One with Raimi movies and one with the Amazing movies, one with the MCU Spider-Man movies. They may still do this. They may. I don't know if they would wait until the fourth movie is done, but they may be working. That's all Sony, though. That's not even a Marvel decision. That's all Sony. Sony. If whoever when they make a box set, it's all Sony. Sony has the rights to all that. So they may be waiting for another Spider-Man movie, or they may be waiting to see what's going on with their other movie. But I would do it now. That'd make a kick. I'd love to see the graphics for that. I'd like to see like a box set with each of their logos on it, and then you turn it around. So I think it would sell. The dreaded 21, yeah, dreaded 27 Club. Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison. Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain. Yeah. And you think I just can't get over the fact that Jimi Hendrix never made it past the age of 27. I just can't grasp that because he was dead before I was born, and he's grown into folklore to where you think he's immortal because of his sound. The other ones are different. Like with Kurt Cobain, I was alive when Kurt Cobain when did that. I was alive when Shannon Hoon died at 27. I think it was 27. I was alive when some of these other guys went. But when it's Jimi Hendrix, he seems like a godly figure that you just don't think. And Jim Morrison's the same way. They only were on the planet for less than 3 decades. It's just wow, dude. That's true that Cobain's death brought awareness to what was actually inspiring that music. Yeah. Yeah. And when you listen to because In Utero, I think it just came out. In Utero came out in '93. So they were like, they were about to go on tour for that album. And I remember Versus and Utero came out the same year. I remember because I was in basic training and I bought those albums. I bought them both. At Oklahoma, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, when the first day we got released from our torturous basic training, we were able to go to the mall and I bought both of those albums, I think, on the same day. And Stone Temple Pilots was another one. Stone Temple Pilots was another one that in that era, that mid to post grunge era. And they were great. And he passed away recently. And he had a lot of issues, though. I mean, he had issues during the mid '90s, but the Big Empty. I mean, whenever you think of The Crow with Brandon Lee's movie, it's The Big Empty is synonymous with that movie. So yeah, it's that era was great, but yeah, it came at a cost. The era was awe inspiring, but it came at a cost. Bone Thugs was cool. Bone Thugs was never my thing. I couldn't. They were ahead of their time, and I just wasn't ready for them. Downward Spiral was the best '90s album. Oh, okay. I'm not gonna fight you there. I don't know if it's the best. It's up there. March of Pigs. See, here's the thing about 9 Inch Nails though, because I bought them bootleg, so because at the mid '90s I was still broke. Pretty Hate Machine and Downward Spiral. I bought them on the same mixtape, so it took me forever to realize when I actually got money because that was 1989 for 9 Inch Nails. I'm gonna go ahead and for me, when it comes to 9 Inch Nails, Pretty Hate Machine is better. Head Like a Hole. It has my favorite 9 Inch Nails song on it, which is Terrible Lie. It has my second favorite 9 Inch Nails, which is Down in It. I was at the bottom. Oh man, that was a great one. But this album really didn't really shake a lot of leaves off the tree when it was released. It wasn't until like I remember hearing it in like 91, 92. Something I Can Never Have. And then you go to that's my favorite album from 9 Inch Nails. But then you go to Downward Spiral, which I'm not going to argue with Clint here because I think he's up there. He's up there. This is when they went on tour with David Bowie. Mr. Self-Destruct, Piggy. Here's a March of the Pigs. The drum work in March of the Pigs is some of the weirdest rhythms you're ever going to see. Closer. One of the best lyrics ever. I want to fuck you like an animal. And the video for Closer it was so way out there. They didn't even play it on MTV. They had a censored version where they would block out shit. It was so hilarious. And Hurt. Hurt is on here. And for those of you, Hurt we got actually remade by Johnny Cash, which is one of the most eerily things he did right before he died. So, you know what? If you want to say Downward Spiral is the best album in the '90s, I don't agree 100%, but not at the disparagement of Downward Spiral. There was just so much other stuff in there for me. But like I said, Pretty Little Hate Machine will always be my favorite one from them. Pantera for Life. A lot of people think Cobain may have had Crohn's disease too. And having that myself, it can be really traumatic. Yeah, he had something. I think he had something was wrong with his digestive system, and he had an ulcer that caused him a lot of pain. And he self medicated with heroin, which didn't help. And he already had depression, so he was a perfect storm, unfortunately. Grunge music is cool. Some rappers had some grunge vibe. Yeah, yeah, I would agree there. Oh, by the way, off topic, Ice T, Body Count. Listen to it. It's great. The newer stuff isn't as good as the older stuff. For some of the guys died. Go listen to There Goes the Neighborhood. Don't play that song at your job if you work with other people, but listen to it on your own. Not Dirt. Dirt is what's going to get a lot of people to love them. That was the era where they benefited from everybody. Everybody in that grunge era benefited from everybody doing well at the time. So once you got your taste of Pearl Jam, you wanted to hear one of these Seattle bands, and some of them weren't even from Seattle. They just had a particular sound that like I said, some of these albums wouldn't have sold as well as they did if it wasn't for the collection of albums that was around at the time. Ugh. I think that I would say not almost. I think Facelift is metal, in my opinion. Dirt definitely drew you in like crazy mental emotion. Yeah, and it had a weird winding tempo to the albums. I mean, to the songs. It was just like a weird trip, man. It's hard to put it into words. Yeah, that was their trinity. Yeah, I know that song. Oh, by the way, The Last Action Heroes has a song by AC/DC called Big Guns. That's one of their better songs. I was 10 when I experienced Dirt. I was hooked immediately. Well, how old was I I think I was 19, maybe 19, 18, 19. Didn't the Cobain family have a lot of tragedy? I think if you go back to his family history, there was multiple suicides. I think so. I think that, and they also have a history of drug use. If I don't, according to his mom, yeah, that's she kind of verified that as well. Megadeth, Angry Again, very good song, fucking amazing solo. Yes, it is. All of those things. I wish I could play some of this shit on without getting copyright strike, but I would, because I could listen to Megadeth. I remember when I was doing my workouts with the army, I would listen to Megadeth. I would listen to Rust in Peace. I would listen to all these albums because it gave you a good, heart rate tempo. So never got into Queen right. Never did. His voice just never did it for me. Not a bad band, but sometimes the lead singer's voice, if it just doesn't connect for me. Yeah, Leash is, and it's such a short song, but it's great. Um, I just really love that song. It's on my playlist right now. Yeah, Daughter. I love the way Daughter opens up. Daughter opens up with that acoustic, don't and then it just goes all the way through. Metal and resurgence after grunge died in the late '90s. Metal had a resurgence in the after grunge died in the late '90s, early 2000s with Shadows Falls, Killswitch Engage, Lamb of God, God Forbid, In Flames, Dark Tranquillity, Soilworks, Soulfly, Machine Head. It was different. It was different than the stuff in the mid to late '80s. It was different, but it still had an edge. It was still metal, so I'll agree there, Azteca. How you doing, Chappie? Oh man, you have to try to see them, William. They play for 2.5 hours. Oh, who do I need to see? Program. Oh yeah, Pearl Jam. Yeah, it's on my bucket list, man. There are some bands that I'm just never gonna. I can't afford Rolling Stones. It's just too expensive. I just want to see them just to get them off the list. I got to see Van Halen before Eddie Van Halen died, and I am grateful for that. I'm grateful that I made the choice to go to that concert. I've seen Aerosmith. I've seen Metallica multiple times. I have seen Guns N' Roses multiple times. I have not seen AC/DC, and I don't. I think I'm running out of time there because I don't know how long they're going to play. I was supposed to see Alice in Chains live, but That's when he was having his drug problems in the mid-90s. He actually was supposed to be at the Sam Boyd Silver Bowl opening up for Metallica, and they ended up getting suicidal tendencies instead. So Pearl Jam I have not seen. Soundgarden I have not. I will never see. Alice in Chains I have not seen, and I do want to see them. There's a lot of bands on. I got to see Beastie Boys live, and once again, I'm grateful for that because you know, the passing of one of the members ended that band. I got to see Smashing Pumpkins at the same concert, Lollapalooza 1994, as I saw Beastie Boys in. Groups like L7, the Breeders, which I was Pixie fan growing up, so seeing the Breeders, Kelly Dill, and all those guys there was kind of cool. But yeah, I need to go. I need to go see some concerts when they make it out to Vegas, or I need to go out to LA. So, but yeah, Pearl Jam is definitely on my bucket list. How about Ghost? Haven't listened to a lot of Ghost. People have recommended songs to me about with Ghost. I haven't. I've only listened to like 2 or 3 songs, but I like the 2 or 3 songs. So there you go. I do too, but like I said, it's all subjective as far as which my ear is probably more biased to Lane Staley. Maybe I want to hear more. Who knows? Alice in Chains fan, go check out a song called "Ashes to Ashes" by Damage Plan. Jerry Cantrell does the guest vocals. Oh, and by the way, Tigger, I'm not disputing that he's a big part of that sound. That sound doesn't happen without him. I just think that even still, that makes all the more sense that they've been able to carry over that sound. But yep, it's true. So let's see. Black Sabbath. I never got to see Black Sabbath live, and I never had any desire to see the Ozzy led Black Sabbath. Nothing against Ozzy. I thought Dio was better. All right. I was listening to Children of the Sea this morning, as a matter of fact. Heaven and Hell. I mean, Dio had more range. Dio had more octave. Dio had the music, the instruments. I think Ronnie James Dio brought out things in Black Sabbath instrumentally that Ozzy could not. And I think Ozzy was better as a solo than he was as a lead singer. It's going to be the same thing with Van Halen, right? To me, Van Halen is Sammy Hagar. All right, he just had different range. I thought he brought out the music that was in that band. Nothing against David Lee Roth. He's a party guy. They ran that band like a party when on the stage, but it wasn't musical for me. And so, yeah, Master of Reality albums. Yeah, he has said that. He was on, I think, Guitar Center Live. He said that. But if you listen to Melancholy Infinite Sadness, I think a lot of that stuff is inspired by Sabbath. Like the song Bodies. The song Bodies reminds me of an early 70s song from them. What I was saying is that Alice in Chains always had 2 singers, Lane and Jerry. Lane died and was replaced by Jerry, the guitarist, is still in the band, never stopped singing. No, and I know what you mean, but a lot of these bands, like I said, when they lose their lead singer, that's it. It's over, man. AC/DC was I can't name another one. I mean, Leonard Skinner, by the way, their guitar is basically its way. But for the most part, I can only name one other band that was able to maintain progress after their lead singer died. That's you guys might know of a different one. But yeah, Lane. Yeah. But yeah, I can agree with that. But like I said, it's just weird that they were able to carry on. But if you listen to Damage Plan, like you said, you'll hear it. You'll hear its influence. But Lane Staley was still the lead singer, so he still was replaced. All right, let's see. Chappie, William, do you think the reason why some people think that diversity is the end of the world because they think that they're going to be replaced, even though they know it's not true at all? Yeah, it's the main reason. A lot of people who act stupid most of them aren't even racist. Most people, like I said, you're always gonna have your hate inspired people and people that just are just look down on other people no matter walk of life, no matter what. Some of the people are not hate filled, but if you grow up and you're not let's say you're not a person of color, but you look at the history of the United States, you look at the history of the country throughout its founding all the way up till now, and you are faced with not being the majority and maybe people of color being the majority and you being the minority. Now you've looked and you've seen how guys like me and people who look like me or a little bit darker like me have been treated for a couple hundred years. You don't hate me, but you don't want to be me. You don't want to lose that place in society where, because you've seen how we've been treated in some cases. And the only thing I can tell people who have that fear is like, hey, listen, I've been a minority for, let me count, 1, 2, 3, my entire life. I'm here to tell you, you're going to be okay, no matter who is the majority. All right, we're not going back to the 1600s. You're not going to be forced to pick anything and work for anything by you for free. You're not going to be enslaved. We've progressed as a country now to where we bought in more, not completely, we're not perfect, but we bought in more to the ideal of America than we had when all this came about. So if Hispanics, Latino become the majority and white people become the minority, what do you think is going to happen? We're going to make laws to hurt fellow Americans? No, we're past that. But I still think, like you said, there's people that have that in the back of their head. They see it on the news every day, and they don't want that for themselves, and they don't want that for their kids. And that kind of fear kind of makes you do stupid shit sometimes. It's my opinion. All right, fan, all great bands. See them live, minus Soulfly and Machine Head. Those bands that you listen to, I've never seen them live. I've heard of some of them live. You know what? I heard a lot about these bands through a show called That Metal Show that used to be on, I think, VH1. I love that show, man. I wish it would come back. All right, so let's see. STP was incredible. Their fourth and fifth albums were epic. Their second one, Purple. Oh man, there's I think is that their is I think Purple was their second album. Purple was the one that had the big empty on it because it was also on their album, um, as well as the Crow soundtrack. Let's see. Wow, the key was gone too soon. Plush was their breakthrough, obviously. Interstate Love Song. I mean, now Interstate Love Song came from Purple. Let's see, Interstate. Yeah, Purple. That album was just awesome. Vaseline, Meat Plow, Interstate Love Song was a big hit. There is a song. It's the fifth track on Purple. Still Remains, and it's the best Stone Temple Pilots song that they ever did, in my opinion. All right. Yeah, man. And you know what? I thought she was gonna make it through her issues, and then she just didn't. Sucks. Because the Crow soundtrack was a prototypical soundtrack, man. The Crow soundtrack it's not. I mean, it just gives me those vibes back in the mid '90s of what kind of music was going on during that era, and that's why when I hear when you know that they're doing a new when they're doing a new Crow, it's kind of tough because a lot of what made the Crow special was the atmosphere that the Crow was made in, and I don't know if you can reproduce that. All right, let's look at the track listing for the Crow soundtrack. Burn by The Cure. Gothica, Terminant Blues, Machines Loving Grace. Some of these bands I never heard of. But they were around then, and like I said, I recognized the songs more than the band. Number 3, Big Empty. That was the Crow soundtrack. That was one of their biggest hit. Dead Souls, Joy Division covers, and that was done by Nine Inch Nails. I remember that song. Darkness, Rage Against the Machine, Color Me Once, Violent Femmes, Ghost Rider, Suicide covers by the Rollins Band, Milk Toast, also known as Milk Toast, Helmet, The Badge, Pantera did that one. Slipside Melting for Love Not Lisa. After the Flesh, My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult, which were pretty big back in the 90s. Snake Driver, Jesus and Mary Chain, and one of my favorite songs on the album is a song called Medicine. It's by Time Baby 3, and they play it in the club scenes. And a lot of these songs they weren't playing like 5. It was like a whole video. Like the Big Empty they were in a car chase, in the middle of the movie for about 3 or 4 minutes, and they had it on the radio. But somehow it became the soundtrack of The Crow. Every time you saw when they started to remarket it because they kept it in theaters longer, they remarketed the commercials with that song, and that was a big hit for them. All right. William, I posted a few questions on your actual other live stream. Not sure if you saw any of my questions. Are you talking about the overnighter last night, or the other channel? I'll take a look at it and get back to you, Anthony. I'll keep a lookout for those. All right, so Downward Spiral rules, Nine Inch Nails. Yeah, Nine Inch Nails rules in general. Pretty Hate Machine is great from front to back. Yes, it is. That's why it's my favorite Nine Inch Nails album. All right. All right. Let's see. Yeah, dude. I mean, my musical taste because where I grew up, and what was on the radio and the way MTV was. I mean, some of you guys growing up today, I feel for you because MTV was not what it was. It is not what it was then. MTV had a way of introducing you to a lot of music that you might not have necessarily given a chance. Because it was one channel with music from all different types walks of life, and it got better as the mid '80s went along. Because in the early '80s they wouldn't play a lot of stuff. But if you look at by the time that 1980s was over, you had things like Headbangers Ball. All right, I didn't have to go to a metal club. I didn't have to listen to a metal station or I could watch Headbangers Ball. I could watch the Buzz Band. I could watch all these things, and that's how I developed my musical taste. And I grew up in LA, where you know if you found a group of people that like the same kind of music that you did, it's just you just hung with them. So yeah, it's that's where mine comes from. I don't know. I don't know. I say it's 50-50. Yeah, I just never got with his voice, man. See, I love the music chat. It's one of my first times watching William was because hours of talking about metal. I remember that stream. We went a while. Cream's why I have the new singer. Try the new guy. All right, I'll give him a shot. All right, because of that, even now most of the characters are voiced by white people. Oh, are we? You know what? I mean, it's voice acting. It's acting. I mean that type of thing. It's just not. I don't. If the visuals of the character are being done by animation, so I never really had an issue with those things. I've seen Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, STP, but still love to catch. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen any of those bands. It sucks. Not live, at least. There's a doctor on YouTube named Anthony Chaff. He's been carnivore diet. I can already see all the clickbait videos from these critters on how much the new Ninja Turtles movies has. Yeah, and the term woke is like I said. I will always tell you guys that when I hear woke, all I see is a caveman with a club and somebody that's going to be extinct. That's all I hear when I hear that. Question Williams, these 3 songs are not sure what your opinions on from Alice in Chains. I stay away, Rooster, Heaven Behind You. I stay away. Rooster, they overplayed in the radio for me. Heaven Behind You, I did not like. I just didn't like the tempo of the song. I mean, it was a departure from some of the other stuff that I really liked of them. So cool. We all have similar tastes in music and additional film and comedy. That's what the internet does, man. It brings us together. I've seen tons of great bands: Sabbath, Heaven and Hell, Priest. I saw Priest. I saw Slayer. Haven't seen Robert Plant. Metallica. I've seen multiple times. Never seen Alice in Chains or any variation of Chris Cornell, whether it be with Soundgarden or Audioslave. I've seen Megadeth. I've seen Anthrax. Never saw BB King. Never saw Lisa Marie. I did see Tool and never got a chance to see Armored Saint. So wow, you've seen a lot of stuff, man. All right, so white type orange, William, just based on there. So I'm not skipping past you, Slipknot, but I see you're talking directly to somebody else. So I'll just pass over that one. William, just based off their high notes as a lead singer in rock, who do you like better, Dickinson, Plant? Dude, Sebastian. I'm assuming you're saying you're referring to Sebastian Bach of Skid Row. So I'm going to go with Dickinson. Dickinson just, and it's hard for me because he just had a better band behind him. So these other, I mean, that's a hard one, dude. I don't. Yeah, I guess this one's a surprise. Sorry. I'm gonna start, like I said. I'm doing a lot behind the scenes with our YouTube channel. My sister, who's our graphic artist and video editor, she's working on a lot of stuff to make the show cooler. We're gonna be doing a lot more stuff on the Sci-Fi Center proper, just to build up that channel's following as well. So we're gonna be doing a lot of stuff. We're gonna be doing a lot of different live streams. And like I said, I've been working on. I got all the stuff I needed to set up the studio within here. So yeah, we're gonna be doing a lot with the YouTube channel. So stay tuned. William, what are your thoughts on Parkway Drive? I don't have any. Not familiar with that. Sorry. Let's see. Purple is probably their best. Purple is just, yeah, Purple is great. Let's see. I'm just trying to get through these. Purple's amazing. Every song, yeah, just especially Still Remains. J.R. Server. What are your thoughts on Alita possibly continuing under the Disney banner and the fandom it's built? Depends on what kind of tone they go with. That's always going to be with when Disney continues something. Are they going to continue a tone that people expect? I don't know a lot about Alita, but I know it has a fan base that has a lot of certain expectations. So as long as they recognize those, they should be fine. Yeah, Escape from LA is really good. All right, let's see. Speaking of Korn, how'd you get the R backwards like that, dude? That's neat. My friend and I Got Machines, Loving Grace album because of The Crow. Yeah, a lot, dude. Man, that soundtrack is like some of the best. I mean, it featured a lot of covers on it, but it was just like, man. I'm just looking at it right now over and over again. It's just like, I mean, it hit like it sold a lot, and that was one of those soundtracks that you just don't do anymore. They did a lot of things have scores to them and maybe a song or two, but this was back in the day where the soundtrack had sounds that were throughout the movie. So. All right, William, what are your thoughts on these two songs by okay, you got that already. Like I said, I Stay Away will probably be my favorite of those. But the Rooster, I just didn't. Hey, here comes the rooster. I remember the video was cool. All right, let's see if we can get through this. I'm about to wind it down because I am hungry. I am tired. I do need to work on some stuff. Slayer 2001 with Hatebreed at Anaheim Grove was my first concert ever. Ooh, wow. Your first concert being, my first one was Metallica. Your first one being Slayer is not bad though. If your first concert was one of the big four, dude, that's cool. Hope you saved the ticket stub. All right. If you're a metalhead, you can't live without Freddy versus Jason soundtrack. Let's see. Two 2003. Let's look and see. Hmm. How Can I Live? Let's see what it has. El Nino, Killswitch Engage, Spine Shank, Mushroom Head, Hatebreed. I know who they are. Slipknot, Chimera from Autumn. Seven Dust. Wow, remember Seven Dust? Power Man 5000, Murder Dolls, Seether, Stone Sour. Stone Sour still around. Wow. Yeah. Lamb of God, Typo Negative. All right. So what I'll say about that, Slipknot, is if you were into that type of metal, then yeah. If you were more of a refined 80s guy like me, I would still listen to this with no problem. It could play in the background. But some of these bands are really good. They just weren't. And I know your name is Slipknot fan, and I'm sorry. I never got into Slipknot. I never got in Sepultura. Lamb of God was good. I mean, some of these bands I just never connected with, like I connected to the other ones. They are not bad bands. I just didn't have that connection. It's almost like a glove. You almost have to have that connection with the band. It's like in the rhythm of your head. And some of these bands just never did it for me. Yeah, that was back from 1999 to 2003. Rap and rock tangled up a lot. Slayer 2001, Hey Been Okay. So all right. Okay, cool. I didn't know how you were doing that. That was kind of cool. Yeah, Ozfest, dude. Yeah, that brings back the day. That they had some pretty kick-ass lineups, man. All right, what are your wow, dude? This was supposed to be a Midnight Express. It turned into a fucking overnighter. But oh well, hey. What are your opinions on White Snakes, Scorpions, Genesis, and The Cure and Poison? I didn't like Poison. I thought they were just too much hairband for me, and they had a hairband sound. Sorry. White Snake, David Coverdale, he's all right. I mean, I like their videos. That's about it. Scorpions were great. Scorpions did things with his voice and that guitar. I mean, Still Loving You is still, it's still one of my favorite songs of that era. Genesis is one I am probably the most familiar and probably out of the ones you give me here. That is probably one of my favorites. I grew up with Genesis and Phil Collins and all those guys, and then when they would split and do Mike and the Mechanics while they weren't doing Genesis stuff, best album that they ever put out was an album called Invisible Touch. And if you listen to Invisible Touch, listen to a song called Tonight, Tonight, Tonight. I love that song. Listen to the long version of it, by the way. All right, let's see. All right, guys, this is it. I was only going to be on for 45 minutes, but we there's one thing that will extend and destroy any timetable I have: wrestling and music. And I have no problem with doing that. But I'm gonna go get some food, Emmy, relax and do some promo work and get ready for the week. And um, this month is going to be wild. So I'm not going to institute the schedule that I'm going to institute until April because we got a lot of live events that's going to unsettle a lot of, what we do. But in April, I was going to institute a plan earlier on this year, but in April, after I've done all the live events, because March is going to be a brutal month for me. April is an open month. I don't have anything major planned, and I'm going to revamp in how this YouTube channel looks or my YouTube channel looks and how our YouTube shows at Arrow and Poindexter Lounge look. And we're going to be doing some distinctly different things. We'll still do some simulcasting things, but I'm going to start migrating a lot of the stuff that's just there's stuff that I'm going to be doing that I think is more geared towards my audience over at the Sci-Fi Center. his own page, and then the stuff that we do with as far as general talking and like we do here is cool for both networks, and that will continue and we'll continue with. But I'm going to give you a schedule so that a lot of you guys have work schedules, different work schedules. Some of you are in different countries, and me popping up sometimes is not really fair to you if you want to be in there live. So come April, I'm going to try to give you a little bit more structure. But until then, I'm going to go get some sleep because I'm starting to drift. I will see you guys sooner than later.